What I'm about to show you today will change voice AI forever. And I'm not just saying that to get your attention, it actually will. OpenAI finally dropped the new real-time API, which is something that I have been expecting at some point since they released this awesome voice demo a couple of months ago. But now it is actually here, still not available for everyone, but it is out there, and if you are a tier 5 user, you most likely have access to it already and you can give it a try. Now I will definitely explain you what the real-time API is, but before that I would also like to mention that what I'm going to show you today is not just an explanation of that, but I'm also going to answer a couple of questions that both my community and our clients had over the past couple of months once OpenAI introduced the voice features in the first place. Because there has been quite a couple of questions. Will these voice providers that will provide voice orchestration layers like Vapi, Zunzflow, Bland, will they still be around? Will they still be relevant? How much does this stuff cost? Is it actually as good? All of those questions will be answered today and even more. And that's still not all. I will also share with you all of the examples and templates that I have created so far for testing purposes to get a better understanding of the real-time API and how I've been leveraging it. And trust me, it's going to be super cool, so stay until the end. The real-time API basically enables you to build low latency, multimodal conversational experiences using OpenAI. Now, if that still doesn't make sense to you, simply imagine that you can now have conversations both on text and audio with the same kind of API, and you can build applications that can just switch in between in a seamless and extremely fast experience. Now, what makes this so amazing is that we can now cut a lot of things out of the equation of what we've currently called a voice orchestration layer. Simply imagine that back then in the voice orchestration layers, we would have to convert the speech to text, then send it to the LLM, get the response back, and then use the text again and translate it to speech and send it back to the user. All of this has to happen in a very short amount of time, and we've been optimizing latency to make this a very smooth and seamless experience, so it seems like you're talking to an actual human. Now, with the introduction of this real-time API, we have a more powerful system in place that can literally take speech to speech. It basically cuts out the equation of translating things to text first and translating them back, which saves, as you can imagine, quite a bit of time. Not just that, we will also have a better throughput, and one of the parts that I personally find really interesting, that you can also expect a better emotional understanding. Because you can imagine now, since we have speech to speech, we don't need to translate through text where a lot of the things like emotions are getting lost, and this is stuff that the AI can most likely interpret a lot better now than with having these normal voice orchestration layers. Now, this is obviously incredibly powerful, and I'm going to show you now as an example how powerful this actually is. Now, what you see here on my screen is the real-time playground that OpenAI provides as a custom installation for a server that allows you to test the real-time API more advanced than what you can currently see on OpenAI. Now, to show you that as an explanation, and I will also tell you why I'm doing that, but if we head over to the platform of OpenAI, you can see that you have now as well a real-time section in your account that you can use to test the API. So I could simply click on Start Session, and I could basically talk to it and interact with it, and you can see that this is it would be an incredibly smooth experience. Now, while this works, it is right now not my preferred method of testing it, because like I mentioned, the real-time playground that OpenAI provides as a package that you can install on your own server is a little bit more detailed, and it has a function call included that we can use to test and try things out, which also helps you in case you're a developer or you have a team of developers and you'd like to develop a solution that works in a similar way. You already have predefined code there. You can simply look at it, understand it, and probably kind of replicate it for your own needs. Now, before we click connect, I'm switching down here to VID, which stands for voice activation detection, meaning that instead of me pressing a button to record my voice and then send it, it automatically detects once I stop speaking, once I start speaking, and then it communicates back and forth with the LLM at the right time. Now, I basically don't need to select it, but I do, because I want to show you how incredibly fast this API is when we develop with it. Now, right over here, you can see as well a map, which is connected to a get weather function that is built in the backend that we have access to in the voice agent and that we can literally leverage for this example as well. Now, let's actually give it a try.
Hello, how's it going?
Hey.
What can I help you with today?
Hey, it's pretty good. What about you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. What's on your mind today?
Not much. Can you just tell me a joke?
Sure thing. Why don't skeletons fight each other? Because they don't have the guts.
That's an awesome one. Lastly, can you please tell me the weather in London?
In London right now, it's about 15.8 degrees Celsius with a gentle wind at around 5.4 kilometers per hour. Do you need help with anything else?
Wow, that's interesting. Can you also tell me the weather in Sydney, but answer in a pirate style?
Matey. In Sydney, the temperature be around 16.7 degrees Celsius with a wind speed of 8 kilometers per hour. What other adventures can I assist you with?
¿Hablas español también?
Sí, hablo español. ¿En qué puedo ayudarte?
As you can see, it is incredibly powerful, multilingual as well, It answers incredibly fast. It has access to features. You can update stuff in real time. If you don't see now the difference to what we currently had as voice orchestration layers, I don't know what else to tell you, but this is going to be incredibly, incredibly awesome for the future. As I believe with this, we will see even better experiences and software being built that we can leverage in the voice AI space to make more with less. Now, this application is custom hosted on Replit, and since you're watching this video, you will get access to that completely for free on my resource hub. Simply head over to hub.integraticus.com. You will get access to this Replit that you can literally simply fork onto your very own Replit account and can give this thing a try without any kind of technical knowledge. I will also show you how you need to set this thing up, so it's all mentioned in the manual in the resource hub. Now, with that out of the way and you actually seeing the power of this whole thing, I would like to go into some questions and especially doubts that I have seen over the past couple of months of people in my community and my clients having about those kind of providers, because obviously they spent money on building a solution on a platform like Vapi, and they were still afraid since the beginning whether or not Vapi will still be relevant once these kind of APIs have been released. And now it's time to answer those questions. Let's dive right into the first one, which is also probably the most asked question ever. Does this API replace the need for something like Vapi, Blend, Synthflow, etc.? The basic answer is no. And quite the opposite actually. It even helps those platform providers to make more and build better solutions. Why is that? You can imagine that the Realtime API is the basic structure of making phone calls, and what Vapi and others do is they add utility on top of it. This can be something like Vapi Squads, which allows you basically to create those agents and connect them together and create complete teams of agents that can act as one but have access to certain and separate tasks to make the conversation overall cheaper, better, and more efficient. And not just that, the Realtime API as of now is obviously dedicated towards developers, so you need to know some coding to build with it. Now, this will also change in the future for sure, but especially with platforms like Vapi, etc., you will have a predefined interface that you can use with low-code or even no-code tools to build exceptionally awesome products without going into all of the depth of streaming, latency optimizations, etc. So as you can see, Vapi is not only providing the orchestrations layers, they also have now tons of experience over the past couple of months on how to make those voice agents better, which is obviously something that we can still take advantage of and which definitely will stick around. There's also stuff like cadence calling. There's also stuff like updates and interactions with databases that is not standardized by OpenAI, so you still have the need to build something like this. And Vapi, for example, is a great case and a great possibility of integrating these kind of new real-time APIs and adding their utility on top so that we have an even better solution. So again, I don't see any kind of risk for those platforms as of now, because I think they can just leverage them to make their platforms even better and provide even better services to us, which again helps us and our clients obviously to make more money, make more in less time, and have happier employees. The next question I have for you is whether or not this actually is fast in production. Because what you've seen right now on the screen is awesome, it works, it's incredibly fast, but obviously is that the same case when you talk to it on the phone, for example? And the question is yes and no. It depends obviously on your setup, right? If you communicate with it through web, so like what we've seen right here on the screen, where you have a stream that goes from your website to OpenAI and back, it is incredibly fast and you can expect the same type of speed. Now, you do have some extra things that go into it once you connect it to phone numbers, because you have something like a Vonage provider or Twilio provider, these kind of cloud platforms that allow you and provide you those digital phone numbers that you can talk with. And obviously they have their very own language and markdown, and of course also a delay, because you have more communication, more APIs talking with each other to make this whole experience work, and there you will have a shorter delay. Now, what that means with shorter delay, I'm going to show you that in a couple of minutes, and trust me, it is still going to be faster than what we have seen now with voice orchestration layers, but I want you to understand that you will still have a bit of more delay if you use something like phone providers compared to literally just the web for making those kind of calls. Now, another thing that I believe is very, very important for you to understand, and which definitely is going to be asked, is it going to be expensive to run this real-time API? And the basic answer is kind of as of now. I would say it is more expensive than what we've seen with a voice orchestration layer, but I am most certain that this is going to go down. And if the price is an issue, you most likely should start with what Vapi currently already offers and not jump on that one, because you probably don't value the quality that much. But if you are down to spend a couple of more cents, you definitely still want to jump on the real-time API. Now, if you look here on the screen, this is the OpenAI pricing page. And you can see right here that for the real-time API, they currently support GPT 4.0 and the 4.0 preview. And you can see as well the prices. So now a lot of people obviously don't know exactly what that input token, output token means. So they put this nice description down here, which says that input costs for audio approximately account for 6 cents per minute, while the output costs approximately account for 24 cents. So you can imagine that for a conversation, you most likely pay around 30 cents per minute for OpenAI itself, which then also needs to be considered if you use, for example, other platforms like Vapi or like Blend. They will obviously add their fee on top of it. Now, you obviously can cut out other things from this equation, especially these whole OpenAI and deep connections and a couple of other aspects. But in my opinion, especially with the experience you get, you might even still want to consider it even though it is more expensive, because obviously, imagine it that way. Imagine it from a different angle. Let's imagine you implement a better solution like that actually can respond better to emotions, that just answers a lot faster. You will also have a higher throughput and probably higher conversion with whatever you do with this voice AI, right? So you will most likely make more money with it in the long term, or you save more money with it in the long term, which again just offsets these extra couple of cents that you pay per minute. And I'd just like to mention again that those prices will most likely come down over time once they get more experienced and just enhance the real-time API over time. Because that is always the case, as you have seen with the token usage and the token pricing over the past couple of months, or even years. Now, another question that I've gotten is, will you be able to connect this to Twilio or Vonage, for example, so to those cloud communication platforms? And the answer is yes, you can. And you don't even need to do this with Vapi itself, for example. You can directly connect it with a custom server, which sounds awesome, but keep in mind that you will lose a lot of utility. There's a lot of things that you, for example, have to account for yourself if you do this on a custom server, which is something that Vapi already worked out over the past couple of months extensively so that you can take advantage of it. Now, obviously, I'm in that space and I gave it a try as well. And what I'm going to share with you as well is another nice example that shows you how you can connect Twilio with a real-time API using a custom replit. So what you see right here is what I'm going to share with you as well, which is a custom server that basically just handles the streaming between Twilio and the real-time API. Now, obviously, as you can imagine, there is a bit of more delay in it because we obviously have a custom server involved and we also have Twilio involved, which also takes a couple of more milliseconds to answer and calculate all of their stuff, but it is still incredibly fast. Now, I'm going to show you how this whole thing looks like by just clicking on run. And you will see it basically boosts up the server. So you, by the way, will get access to this thing completely for free as well. Simply go over to my resource hub. You will find the download URL. You can fork this whole template. You can add your OpenAI key in the secret section right here with the OpenAI API key. And then you can simply click on start and you will have a web view that looks something like this. Obviously nothing special. This, by the way, is an awesome example I got from Twilio and I kind of customized it and I added some extras like function calling because that was not part of it. Now, with that out of the way, let me just make a phone call to it with an actual number so you can see how it sounds and feels. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? How can I assist you today?
It's a very good question. Can you just tell me a joke about pirates?
Sure. Why did the pirate go to the seafood restaurant? Because he wanted to try the fish and chips.
Ah, that's so cool. Can you also tell me the weather in London?
The current weather in London is sunny.
Okay, this was a predefined response, but thank you very much. ¿Hablas español también?
Sí, hablo español. ¿En qué puedo ayudarte?
So as you can see, all of that literally runs through Twilio through a custom number that I purchased from there. And obviously, like I mentioned, I'm not going to go into detail because this is still very custom, but if you just want to try it and you're curious how that works behind the scenes, and maybe you even have seen the Twilio example, but you would like to understand the tool calling a little bit more, which is this part right here, and the callbacks. This example is awesome. Simply check it out. It's completely for free. You can set it up for yourself and give it a try. And I promise you, even if you are good with the whole voice AI thing, this is going to take you a lot more time just to build a solution that is not even nearly as good as what you currently have with those platforms that provide these voice orchestration layers like Vapi or Blend. But even talking to it, you can see you still have that multilingual functionality and you also have a very short response time compared to what we've currently seen, which is awesome. This is one thing that I specifically value so much with this real-time API because it will make the whole interactions more natural, more empathetic, and also a lot better for people that are never interacted with voice AI. Because you can imagine, it sounds and feels even more natural and even more human-like. Now, another question I have on my list is, can you do function calling? And as you have seen here, yes, you can. It's called tool calling, but it is basically your possibility of just interacting with the real world during a voice conversation, like what we have already previously seen with those voice orchestration layers. You can literally just include your very own tools. And not just that, even in the responses of those AI voice assistants, you can add extra custom or transient-based tools that you can just inject into the conversation for a specific use case, which is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Imagine, for example, you have a dental clinic and you have new patients and existing patients. You can just feed in tool calls that are only available for existing patients, for example, compared to new patients. And you can just send them in a separate audio request into the LLM to have extra features available only for that person that are specifically tailored. This is just such an incredibly powerful feature. The last question I have for you is it easy to set up? The answer is no. Right now, it is still very technical. The documentation is still not that advanced. There are tons of things missing, and even for me, figuring out how to exactly set up the tool calls was a big pain, but it worked out. I could try it, I could get responses from it, which is really, really awesome. And I will also post to you the whole API documentation that they have on it, which also has already tons of information. So it's great to get started. But if you really want to dive in deep and you don't fully know how to code, this is going to be very, very hard for you. Now, since you're still here, I can share with you some more insights that will be definitely relevant. And I believe also for other people, because in my expectation, with this API and the way it is structured, I am most certain that many of the providers we have seen right now, like VAPI, etc., they will most likely implement those kind of features because the API is designed in a way that it will be compatible with what we currently had as voice orchestration layers. Because if we see it from a microservice perspective, meaning every little tool is in its very own world and can be replaced separately, this can be literally just implemented into the existing setup without changing much. So I can expect that platforms like VAPI will implement that at some point and we can leverage it. And then it will also get a lot simpler for people that are not really technical, but that still want to take advantage of that real-time API. Now, I know this was already a lot of information and I'm still trying to figure out the things by myself, but I just wanted to make sure you already know that it's out there, that you can give it a try if you already have access to it. And if you don't, definitely check out the documentation because it's going to come and you want to make sure you're one of the first to understand and leverage this kind of technology so you can make more money in the long term for your business, for your client, however that looks like. Now, if you're still here, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching my videos in the first place. And if you have any more questions towards that, you're most welcome to drop that down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.